A short reflection on the market and globalization. For how many years, or indeed centuries, has a model of market competition been presented as necessary and indeed inevitable? That, despite its evident failings and at times brutality, particularly evident at times of international crisis. Raymond Dalio, founder of a large US capital hedge fund, is witheringly critical of the capital and market model. Dalio notes that the wealth gap in some areas of the US is as wide as in the era of the 1930s, the American Depression. Something he argues in excess of 17% of American children exist in poverty. Reflecting on the UK situation, Alton in 2019, and commenting on the UN report on UK poverty, presents rather depressing reading. Alton suggests that possibly 1/5 of the UK population, perhaps 22% or thereabouts, effectively lie in poverty, and he emphasises the underlying dangers, not just to individuals, but to society, of allowing such wealth and power divisions and separation to emerge. For many market analysts and global supporters, globalization has generated increased wealth, levels of intercommunication, and significant levels of employment for countless numbers across the planet. Filoni, again in 2019, argues that whilst the capital market system has considerable potential for generating wealth, it lacks the depth and breadth of vision to facilitate its fairer and indeed socially necessary division. Globalization possibly comprises three dimensions, or has three legs: the social, the political, and the economic. Certainly at current times there is limited evidence of social and political cooperation and interconnectivity towards a common purpose. This is particularly evident in the consequences of what has become an overfocus on economic globalization. Some of the analysts and critics suggest that economic globalization has increased levels of debt, accelerated competition, de-skilled and impoverished many communities, and possibly contributed to levels of social unrest, threatening indigenous peoples and cultures, whilst advancing the interests of vast multinational corporations. Again, some would argue that the model of economic globalization has worryingly opened or accelerated a number of disease and pathogenic corridors, both microbiologically and socially. Significantly, this accelerated model of capital accumulation has undoubtedly taken a heavy toll on the Earth as a living organism. Its overfocus on Homo economicus has often actively sought to stimulate some of the baser and damaging appetites in susceptible human beings and in susceptible humanity. Across centuries, the capital market model was presented as reflecting to predominant human greed, exploitation, individualism, and oppression. This then masquerades as an enlightened economic neoliberalism and panders to a particular model of the human social psyche presented by writers such as Locke and Hobbes. Contrastingly, and with the benefit of research and science, theorists such as Jensen, Novak, Bentley, the Common Cause Foundation, etc., 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 emphasize or underline the significant social, collaborative and cooperative characteristics of the human and human psyche. Although inevitably, like any natural trait, it is capable of distortion or corruption through the impact of nurture. Thomas Piketty underlined the destructive social impact of capital accumulation and capital imbalances, and the social and political harm that translated to societies as a result of that accumulation. Pickett and Wilkinson, some 10 years earlier, in a well-researched text, The Spirit Level, argued that equality is better for everyone, whilst the excesses of the market erode trust, increase anxiety and illness, and encourage excessive consumption. Their thesis is that the degree to which the spirit level bubble has travelled from the centre of the spirit level, the greater the manifestation of biological and social dis-ease. Of course, disease does not know social class and demographic boundaries, as becomes significantly evident in our current time. Deaton, again writing and arguing in 2019, notes the importance of a making culture rather than a taking culture, and particularly condemns a rent-seeking model. A rent-seeking model is a particular characteristic of the US and UK market economics. It is not beyond the wit of mankind to revisit a model of market capitalism that for significant centuries has enriched and empowered a small proportion of the population. The 21st century is a time not just to apply science to the natural environment, but to understand and apply science to the social environment. They are intrinsically connected in a symbiotic relationship. Particularly at this hinge moment in history, and which such powerful change afoot or anticipated as a result of pandemic infection, this presents an opportunity for cathedral-like thinking, arguing that damaging levels of competition are intrinsic to the human nature or inevitable, presents an anthropological and category error, a crude misrepresentation of Darwinian theory. A slow, or at least slowed, more qualitative and more sustainable model of growth is evidently needed. Now is the time for a lead on a more holistic model of wealth generation that more effectively translates to and provides the lifeblood for all, or at least more, cells of the social body. A system of economics as though people, and indeed the natural world, mattered. Although perhaps an anathema to many materialists, and particularly at this time, apparently this is also God's will. We ignore that will at our peril. I'm Dr. John Power. I'm based in Northern Ireland, and thank you for listening.